All right, everyone, welcome to the very first episode of the Founder Fit podcast. So my name is Damian and I am here with Scott today, and we're going to be talking about an amazing topic to talk in our first episode. We're going to be going over why discipline will always beat motivation, and we're going to talk about how to apply it in business and in life. So if you're new to the channel, Founder Fit has myself, and I've been a coach for over 15 years. I've been helping high performance athletes. I've been working with athletes and trainers who run their own business, and been working with a lot of people in the business space. And we're really going to talk about all of the principles that we have learned, that we've achieved great success in business, in performance, and discipline is definitely one of those key principles that we're going to talk about and uncover. And the man to my left, Scott, has also achieved some amazing things in business, in his own career. So I'm going to kick it over to Scott. He's going to tell us a little bit about him. And yeah.
So really simply, guys, so my background is that I essentially came from a very traditional family, which was do well in school, go to university, get a good job. I started reading books very early in my career, and funny enough, the first one was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it woke me up immediately that the system and the school system was not the path for me. I didn't enjoy school, so long story short, I was always looking for other avenues, and that book solidified it for me. So I took the path of entrepreneurship very early on. I actually became a personal trainer, fitness professional for myself when I got out of the army, and I did that for a few years, and then found myself just diving into business, into entrepreneurship, and starting group fitness sessions, and then moving into franchising, and I was lucky enough to make millions in that space. I also run other companies as well. I've made millions in the property space as well, and I have read hundreds upon hundreds of books. I've studied hundreds and hundreds of high performers in all different fields, whether it's sport or entertainment or politics or business, entrepreneur. I have studied these people endlessly and relentlessly, and it is extremely clear why these people are successful. And I have been lucky enough to be able to implement those principles into my life, and so far it has allowed me to achieve certain things as an individual as well. And then I also got into coaching and helping other people do the same thing. And the idea behind Founder Fit is that we're now able to create scalable online systems to focus on not so much the skill set, but the psychological side, the psychology. And what the great Tony Robbins says, it's 80% of the game. 80% of success is your psychology. So that's what we want to focus most on, because we find that there is plenty of phenomenal experts, and we will also share those people with you as we go through this journey. But we actually find that there's not too many doing it to the level that we think is possible to be able to condition, again, as professional coaches. We have built systems and found systems that work flawlessly to break you from your old habits that essentially haven't been getting you the results that you're looking for, and being able to shift that very quickly and simply using systems. So now we're going to branch out beyond our individual clients and our brick and mortar businesses now into the online world, and share this over 2.5 coming on 3 decades of experience between us, so 30 years of experience between us in this space. And we're going to share this with you guys online systematically, and it will work every single time if you follow it. So we're very excited, and we're going to be doing that through the podcast as well, giving you insights and tips and tricks and trainings through the podcast forum as well, to be able to help you as well. So just to frame the episode, today is about discipline. A lot of people chase and think motivation is the key to getting things done and taking action. It's absolutely not. It is discipline over the long term, which is going to, and again, I've studied that, the most successful people in the world, you can see it clearly that they don't feed off motivation. they execute on discipline, and that is the number one reason they are where they are. So I look forward to, between Damian and I, sharing a little bit about that and what you can apply today to get moving in the right direction.
Absolutely huge. And on that note, it's something I've seen in the coaching space, with high level athletes and business and we were talking about this earlier, it's, a lot of people are motivated. They're motivated in this space, and people are like, how do I get more motivated? But we know through success that, you don't have motivation all the time. And motivation is actually a bad thing. If someone is only acting on motivation, well, that comes and goes. So, this is what we see as fundamentally one of the biggest problems. Why people can't break through is because they're relying on motivation and not discipline. So the motivation, what's another word for that? Well, really, it's inconsistency, because we're not always going to be motivated we know in a week, over the span of 7 days, that motivation level can, be higher, can be lower. And if we are building our business, if we are training, if we're living life that way, it's gonna, there's a lot of variability in that. So this is definitely one of the huge, biggest key problems, definitely.
Sure. Yeah. And to reiterate, what is motivation? It's a feeling of wanting to do action. The problem is, as humans, is that feelings are biochemicals. It's biochemistry. And that can alter depending on many factors: sleep, nutrition, environment, stress, life. The challenge with life is that it has its highs, it has its lows. So there really is no consistency in life. So to try and build a business or a life based off inconsistency is already a formula for failure. If you just look at it like an equation, you are not going to get the result clearly because you are inconsistent in execution, because life is inconsistent, which means motivation is then in return inconsistent, which means then results are then inconsistent. Inconsistent results will ultimately lead to failure. So what is the answer? The answer is simple. It's discipline. And you probably hear a lot of quotes and things, and and there's a lot of people I follow, like a Jocko Willink, who famously says, discipline equals freedom. And these are all really great quotes when they actually mean something to you, when you can understand them. So what we want to do at FounderFit is just simplify that stuff, is break it right down to its core form and go, okay, well, what is discipline? Discipline is the ability to be able to do things that you don't want to do and do them anyway. It's as simple as that. It's like going to the gym. I train 6 out of 7 days a week. Do I always want to do it? Absolutely not. But because I commit to doing it, because I have built the muscle of discipline, I just get up and get it done. It's not a question of how do I feel. It's just another day and what gets done in that day. So it is really, and if you look at that, it's really the only way to build, fitness or physique or health, by doing it every day. If it's every third day or fourth day, there's just, and again, this is coming from Fit Pros, there's just absolutely no chance of success if it's not done, if something's not done every single day. So you can't rely on motivation, or you would not go to the gym, because you would not feel great on that third day, because life pops up. You've got kids and they get sick, and that creates stress and whatever it is. So the key is that you have that discipline, and discipline needs to be built. It's not automatic. But if you are not aiming, if you are not committed or focused on building discipline, and you are relying on motivation, then you simply won't get to where you want to go. So what is what is it that needs to be done to focus on immediately from watching this, rather than saying to yourself, I don't feel motivated? The question then becomes how do I create discipline? And that's what we do at FounderFit. We can't give you all the secrets today, but that is the number one question that we answer within FounderFit. It's how do we create discipline? And
it's like, in saying all that too, a big problem with people who are highly motivated, and let's be real, like if you're running a business, if you're an entrepreneur, like you are a highly motivated individual. But what this can do is it means that you can sort of aim too high or do too much at once. And like Scott was saying, you need to build discipline. You can't go from 0 to 100 real quick. You need to build it like a muscle, just like anything else, just like starting a training program or a new routine. You don't just go from no training to 7 days in the gym. You are going to burn out really quickly. And this is why it's also hard for people to, build discipline, is because they're approaching it too wrong. They're letting motivation, they're letting those feelings, as you were speaking, just supercharge them for a few days, a few weeks, maybe even a few months. But eventually you're not going to be able to sustain it because you haven't built the muscle, you haven't built the backbone, which is being disciplined. And that does take time. But we talk about this all the time as well. It's like, you got to just choose your hard. Being disciplined is hard because you have to stick to your plan. You have to execute when you don't want to, and that is hard. But we also know when you follow a plan and you are disciplined and you execute, then you get the result, and it's so much easier that way. So when you're, because also, like you said, it's like that inconsistency, like that is tiring, like that wears you down. That is like the hard way. That's like, we've all been there before. I know I've been there so many times where, we're going off feelings. We'll do that tomorrow. We got an excuse. We are undisciplined, and, it just prolongs everything. We don't get the result. We don't get the payoff. We're constantly then searching for new things to do. But the reality is a lot of the things that we were doing were the right things to do. Just we weren't showing up and being consistent. We let a birthday party come up. We let an event come up. Friday came up. You name it. So discipline is really the biggest thing. And it's even we have with Founder Fit is we have like a 7-day momentum challenge, and we called it the momentum challenge because that is what a lot of people need. Is they just need to create some momentum. They don't need to go from 0 to 100. You've actually probably got the skills. You've probably got all of the talents there. You probably are disciplined, but every time you try to create discipline in your life, you just go too hard at it. So sometimes you just need to get a bit of momentum, get some wins on the board. You need to start building that muscle, and then that makes everything easier. It makes it easier to become more disciplined as you go. Well, even me and Scott, we've been working together for a really long time, and I know I applied this. We've built an amazing business together, Hybrid Heroes, if you follow that at all. And but the success of that. So we've built, massive following. We've helped literally thousands of people around the world. And when I started working with Scott, and this is the power of working with people, is Scott brought discipline and accountability into my routine, because I was that person as well. New shiny object, new thing here, coffee there, you name it. But having Scott there and being like, here's the framework. And I was like, I just got to be disciplined. I got to just stick to that. And then the results came, and what we've done, in the last 12 months, I could not even imagine doing that myself over many of years. And that's why we talk about it. It's why we're bringing up discipline today, because it's like, without it, it's a principle. It's just a key principle that you need to master. And without it, that it's not even like a small gap. It's a massive hole potentially in your business, in your life. And if you are someone that is constantly like, I'm starting over again, I can't break through, this thing isn't working. If you truly reflect, if you truly look back and go, well, how disciplined have I been? How consistent am I? All the answers are going to be there. No worries. So, and I have plenty of clients. We talk about motivation, and a note that I made here today was talking about hot streaks, because I know a lot of people out there, love a good streak. But these streaks are just very short term. What happens after the streak is people generally stop. So this is the thing. It's like, when being highly motivated, even though it can be a good thing, it can be like a bit of a boost, bit of a turbo. But if you are relying on it over discipline, it's like, I guarantee you are not where you want to be. And that cycle just continues, which is, it is very tiring.
All very good points. I could speak to so many of those, but for time, there's a couple of things that I also want to add on top of that. The first one is, and I talk about this a lot to my inner circle, and it's, unfortunately, the world that we live in today is completely counterproductive to building discipline. If you look at our lifestyles, and I'm talking, I guess, generally and quite macro here, but if we look at 50 years ago, pre-internet, life was a lot more simple. And it allowed us to be naturally a lot more disciplined and consistent in our activities. Hence why we actually saw a lot more, quote unquote success. Families stayed together, people were healthier, people stayed in their jobs longer, less divorce, less disease, just more financially sound, less credit issue. Like, again, the list goes on. And you look at this, this modern society that we're in with smartphones, smart tech, Instagram, internet, YouTube, OnlyFans, like
Hinge,
Tinder. It's a pretty destructive world. And again, to no one's fault. It's not here me going, oh, it's so bad, the world's over, it's all terrible. It's not, it's just harder. And why is it harder? Because the system and the dopamine is, we were actually just discussing this before the podcast. The companies out there, they've got the smartest people on the planet. They now have AI. They have more avenues of being able to get your attention than ever. So no wonder we're eating more food, ordering more Uber Eats, watching more Netflix, scrolling more Instagram, swiping more Tinder, and doing all these things that unfortunately move us backwards in life. How often do you see promotions to, do healthy things? And again, we were watching a grand final the other day here in Australia, and I hadn't watched ads in a long time. And it was fast food, beer, PlayStation, buying cars. None of it was geared towards how it can help you and support you to be successful, healthy, financially free and stable, great relationships, fit body, fit mind, just healthy in general. It was all geared to the opposite. So I look at the system and I immediately understand it's against us. So the challenge is that we have to be more disciplined than ever consciously. Like I said, 50 years ago, it wasn't as hard. We didn't have all the inputs. But now you actually have to consciously engage a part of your brain that says what I am going to remove from my life and what I am going to consistently do. Because the stack of how much things are against you is ever expanding, and it's getting worse, and AI is only going to compound that effect. So it's only going to be harder. So the unfortunate thing to that, it's going to be harder to be disciplined. And then again, look at this as an equation. It's getting harder to be disciplined, but discipline is the key, the number one key. If you were to look at, the four things that you need to be successful, or whatever it is that you want to however you want to look at it, discipline is number one. And you can't ignore that, because again, going back to what we were saying earlier, if you don't have discipline, you don't have consistency. If you don't have consistency, you don't have results. So where I'm going with that is, in this comfy Instagram, Uber Eats, world that we're in, is that you have to double down on this. It's just a non-negotiable, or you will not. And I'm staring into your soul right now. You will not make it. It's straight fact. How do I know that? I've experienced it in my own life. I also have studied hundreds, if not thousands, of high performers in detail, and they all have it. There is not one high performer right now out there that you can name or mention or send to me, and if you found one, do it, drop it in the comment. But there is not one high performer on the planet that does not have discipline at the highest level. And again, I'm talking about the top 1%. I'm sure you could find your mate who does this, but I'm talking about the top, the elites, the top 1% or 0.1%ers. So long story short, that is the absolute number one key ingredient. And that's why it's the first episode for this podcast. And that's why it is going to be, well, it is a fundamental principle that you will hear over and over and over again within Founder Fit. So what I'm trying to say here, guys, is that if this is not the key focus for you, then you're not even in the game. And that's a bit of a harsh truth, but it's a truth. So I'll leave you with that, hand it back to Damian, and we'll move on.
Yeah. And just add there too, guys, like, I guess, discipline and everything we spoke about and what Scott was saying, and that is a harsh truth that we have to swallow. But it can feel not normal. And the reason why it's not normal is because normal is not discipline. Normal is, normal people are getting affected by all the marketing, just doing normal people things. And if you're a business owner, if you're a founder, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're wanting to be not normal, then we have to do not normal things. And it's sad. Like it's actually, we blow our mind that even having this conversation saying people need to be disciplined is like, that should just be the normal thing. But it blows our mind that we have to, say, that this is not normal. But this can also be your greatest advantage, because if you can get disciplined, if you can lock in, if you can remove those distractions, you automatically just rise above so much of the competition and the noise out there. And that's really the secret that we've found in anything that we've done and had success in. And that's why we're like, this is actually so simple once you get it, but it's just about making some decisions, some choices, and just really understanding the power of being disciplined. And then you realize you're not missing out on anything anyway, because everything else is just a distraction and doesn't actually allow you to make progress. So we see it time and time again. So, and again, it's because discipline is about acting based on commitments. It's about logically thinking and creating a plan, creating a system, creating commitments that, if done right, are going to equal a result. So a lot of the times, you don't need to be a genius by any sort, but you can probably put some, a timetable together, some weekly actions. And if you just execute it, you will achieve your goals, whether that's training in your business. But the thing that throws us off track is, again, feelings. It's, having a fight with the partner. Again, it's, boys going out for drinks on Friday night. And it's just, it's there's 52 weeks in a year. If every single weekend you got distracted, that's 52 distractions. That's 52 chances you haven't made progress. And that's just one, I'm talking about just one day, let alone, every other day. So if you had 2 distractions a week, that's 104 distractions. It's so easy to fall behind, let alone if you're getting distracted every day. It's a no-brainer. So that's why, mastering discipline, and again, building up to it. You don't have to go 0 to 100, but you have to be so conscious of it, because if you are not, right, the world we are in is subconsciously just attacking us all the time. So we really have to be super clear on that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So true. And that's a good way of looking at it. If you're distracted twice a week, it's 104, and then the flow and effect of that, everything's momentum based. So does that lead into another distraction or another upset? Again, I remember it when I was a personal trainer. It would, when a client would have a big weekend, it wasn't just the big weekend, it would flow into rescheduling Monday session and things like that, which, so naturally it's not just the one decision, it can easily and does flow into 2 or 3 bad decisions. But that's also on the other side as well. It's also, once you start making these good decisions, again, I train 6 days a week and it's just automatic. It's just what I don't even think. It's just get up, do these 5 things, put on my shoes and go. It really is automatic. And it's led to great health, great energy, no problems, and I'm now mid-30s and it's just, I feel better than I did when I was 22, it really is, it pays off when it is done consistently, and only when it's done consistently. But I'm just going to wrap up with a couple of things, a couple of sort of simple things that you can take away that I think that if you're sort of stuck in a place where you're not getting results, where you're feeling a little bit, I don't know, maybe overwhelmed or anxious about your future or your results or your business or your progress. You know what I mean? We've all been there. It's like you don't feel good about the direction that you're going. All been there. The beautiful thing about that is that you're only one decision away from getting back on track. And that's absolute fact. Again, from my own experience, studying people and helping people do so. So my advice to you, the first one is you need to understand just fundamental principles, very simple principles. One being discipline. You know, that is, if you don't have that fundamental in your life, you won't move forward. So understanding that. And what you can then do with that fundamental principle being discipline, the question then just becomes is, well, how do I create discipline within my life? What are the things that require discipline? Really simple example. This is episode 1. If we don't do another episode in 4 weeks' time, well, we're not going to gain traction. We're not going to gain views. We're not going to get algorithm to recognize us and to build momentum and to do those things. So what does the discipline need to be? Well, we need to produce an episode every single week, non-negotiable. That's what's coming, and you can hold us accountable to that. I've said it here live. So that's a discipline. It's as simple as that. We're committing to that. We've already discussed it. All right, Damian, what are we going to do? 1 a week? Okay, done. Lock it in. Is it going to be Wednesdays, Tuesdays? That's a discipline. It is now done. And it's as simple as that. Second thing you can do is just keep it really simple. You know, if you don't exercise every single day, then that is the first thing that I would recommend to, and we do recommend. Part of Founder Fit, and again, it's not about fitness, it's about mental fitness. A key principle of Tony Robbins, the great Tony Robbins, is that you must be mentally fit. Okay, so how do you become mentally, it always links back to a question. How do you become mentally fit? Well, one of the key, and again, I think most people know this, one of the key principles to mental health is physical health. You know, your mental health is a reflection of your physical health. So what does that mean? You need to start exercising consistently. Okay, so say right now you don't exercise at all. No problem. Tomorrow, you're going to go for a 10-minute walk. That's it. It's as simple as that. And you're going to do that for 7 days straight. You're going to commit to that discipline. That's as simple as it is. Don't do any more, any less, just that. If you're beyond that and you already train every day, okay, well, what's one thing that you can do in your business? Can you make an extra sales call? Can you put out an extra marketing post? Can you have an extra team meeting? What can you do every single day? Just one thing that you know if you did do it, it would move your business forward, especially when it's compounded. 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, 2 years. Because like Warren Buffett says, compounding interest is the 8th wonder of the world. And that's where all the gains are, when things have compounded over a period of time. But obviously, like anything, they start small. Warren Buffett started with a $1,000 investment. Now he's worth how many billions of dollars? Because he's been doing it for 80 years. So long story short, guys, that is as simple as it is. And then the last one is just reflect on it. At the end of the week, at the end of the month, look back and go, okay, what was the benefits of that? What have I gained from that? And have a look into it, whether that's journaling or meditation, but just looking back and appreciating and understanding what that has then done for you, good or bad. And then noting it down and then just moving on to the next week and continuing that. And then when you do start to get in an automatic pattern, like again, I keep saying with the training, I just get up and it's just done. Now you can add another one on. But until that time, just stick to one, keep it simple. And that's the best advice I can give you for today's episode. But if you start there, it will naturally start to compound. And that's the key.
So, talking about, starting simple, one thing that I did to instill discipline into my life is cold shower every morning. And I just do it every morning. And the reason why I do it is not because of the cold water benefits, even though there's plenty there, but I do it because I don't want to do it. And that is the very reason why I do it. Yeah. It builds my discipline. And now that just has become, something I always say to myself. As soon as I say in my brain, out loud or in my head, I don't want to do it. I'm like, trigger. Okay, now I got to do that thing. Not because of the thing, but because it's discipline. Because every time I'm saying, I won't have a cold shower, I'm being undisciplined. I'm letting, my feelings take over rather than just like doing it. And then I have a cold shower and I always feel so much better from the cold shower, but also knowing that I'm disciplined, and then that becomes a knock on for the rest of the day. We've probably all heard the story as well, potentially like making your bed in the morning is a very similar effect. Yeah. Those who make their bed, like why? Because it's a task. If you can just do that first task, then that knock-on effect goes from there. So it can be as simple as that, guys, but it will just build. And then before you know it, it's like you could be running 7-figure business, all this discipline and structure in it because you learned that skill. So from, the micro to the macro, it's the same principle. It's the same principle and takes the same amount of effort to do something small or do something really big. So you have to start that. So, we spoke about, how we help people. So again, the next steps from here, like if you are someone who I guess you feel like you're inconsistent, you're motivated, then you're not, you're lacking discipline. You obviously got some great points that you can take from today's episode and you can apply that to start building discipline in your life. But if you want help doing that, if you want to take more action, and if you want to speak to us as well, the next step that you can actually do is you can actually book a call with us. It's for free. You can book in. We've got the link there in the description below somewhere. You can do it and you can get directly onto us. Also, we have a digital playbook that you can download as well, where we have a ton of information, where we talk about all the things that can we go through a lot of steps as it can help you in your business as well. Discipline is one of them. Plus, we got a few more key principles in there as well.
Yeah, it's a really good point, that last one, where it's like if you don't want it, and you'll hear this from so many people that are playing at that top level. It's if I don't want to do it, then I must do it. And it's just, again, check yourself, write a note, do whatever you've got to do. But you need to condition yourself for exactly that. When you don't want to do something, that's exactly when you need to do it. That is the fundamentals to discipline. If you want to break it down even further, it is doing what you don't want to do and doing it anyway. So yeah, really well said. Great point. What is amazing, guys, is that you genuinely get access to both of us now. That's what we've opened up to the world, which is, in my opinion, that's extremely rare and awesome. So you can book a free call with us just by clicking the link below. And that breakthrough guide, it's so simple and it will give you more tips and tricks. Again, we want to keep everything within Founder Fit so simple because, like Einstein says, that's the real genius. Overcomplicating things just creates, paralysis. Like they say, paralysis analysis. We want to keep things so simple, so step by step that, my 4-year-old can do it, because that ultimately is the key. Complicating things serves nobody, but when you can do it simply and frictionlessly and just repetitively, consistently, it will just, you will notice, and you've probably already experienced this in some areas of your life, but maybe there's other areas. So we want to use those same fundamentals. And the last thing is make sure that you're following and you're subscribing to our other channels as well, because we're putting out all different types of content. That's the cool thing. We're going to be doing podcasts, on YouTube and Spotify, but we're going to be putting out trainings on Instagram and TikTok, snackable stuff. There's going to be a lot of content going out because we're disciplined and we're going to do it. And the goal is to not motivate you, but inspire you to recognize your flaws and to take action. Because ultimately, let's be honest, we all have watched podcasts and all this kind of stuff. There's so much out there, and just like, oh yeah, that was good. That was, that was interesting, and done nothing. Like, I'll fully admit to that. We all do it. We want this to be different. This is going to be different. We're committed to that. Is that we want to give you every opportunity to take action, and we will guarantee if you do take that action, we will deliver on our end, and we will make sure that you get the results that you're looking for. So that's what we do. That's what we've done.
Absolutely.
That's who we are. We get results. So yeah, if you are interested in talking to us, simple. Click the link below, book in, and we'll see you there.
Well, that's it, guys. We'll wrap it up there. First episode done in the books. So, guys, we'll see you on the next episode.
See you on the next one.